Who here has heard of Romulus and Remus? Alright, who here knows that they were twins? And who here can tell me which one was which? Crickets chirp well. That last one was a little unfair, but how about this? Who here thinks that the Wolf brothers were hot-headed rivals, who would do anything to outdo each other? Come on, it's okay to admit it. I mean, you know you love a good enemies to lovers story. Yeah, don't look at me like that. You're not denying it. We all secretly love a good enemies to lovers story. Don't lie. Okay, so we all know about Romulus, the founder of Rome, but what about his twin brother, Remus? How much do you really remember about him? For that matter, how much do you even know? He gets a lot less airtime than his famous twin, but he might have had an even bigger impact on the development of the city of Rome. Let's just say that, without Remus, there may not have been a Rome as we know it. But how did he make his mark on the world? What happened to him after Romulus founded the Roman Empire? Join us today as we uncover the untold story of Remus, Rome's forgotten twin. But before we start our story, if you love anything to do with mythology, then why not check out our podcast, where we talk all things mythology. Now back to our story. When we think of the founding of Rome, we picture a young Romulus looking out over the 7 hills with a vision for the future of his people. He is the visionary, the leader. His brother Remus is often seen as the sidekick, or worse, the villain. But the truth is, Remus was a complex character whose story has been told and retold throughout history. From his role in founding the city of Rome to his tragic death at the hands of his own brother, Remus's life was filled with both triumph and tragedy. Yet, despite his significant contributions to the Roman Empire, he is often forgotten in the retelling of the Rome's founding. If we're being honest, the story of Remus and Romulus is really the story of 2 brothers who were destined for greatness. Born to the same parents, raised in the same environment, they had all the advantages necessary to succeed. However, from an early age, these twins were engaged in a bitter conflict, a battle to the death that ended tragically with only one surviving. This competition between the twins is most evident in the story of how they came to be founders of Rome. According to Livy, when they arrived in Italy, they decided to found a city on the banks of the Tiber River, but they couldn't agree on where exactly they should build it. Remus thought it should be on the Palatine Hill, while Romulus preferred the nearby Aventine Hill. After a fierce argument, Romulus killed Remus and established the city on the Palatine Hill. The story of Romulus and Remus is a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked ambition and the importance of controlling our emotions. The relationship between Remus and Romulus is one of the most compelling aspects of the myth. Despite being identical twins, the 2 brothers could not be more different. Romulus is depicted as a cunning and ambitious leader, while Remus is portrayed as impulsive and hot-headed. Their conflicting personalities lead to constant bickering and eventually result in the tragic death of one of them. The rivalry between Romulus and Remus is also a reflection of the competitive nature of the ancient Roman society. The Romans valued strength, courage, and ambition above all else, and these traits often led to conflict between brothers and other close relatives. One of the most iconic symbols of the Romulus and Remus story is the she-wolf that nursed the twins after they were abandoned. The she-wolf represents the nurturing power of nature and the importance of family and community. Despite the brutality of the story, the she-wolf provides a glimmer of hope and reminds us that even in the darkest of times, there is always something worth fighting for. The story of Romulus and Remus has been interpreted in a variety of ways throughout history. Some see it as a historical account of the founding of Rome, while others view it as a symbolic representation of the values and beliefs of ancient Roman society. Regardless of how it's interpreted, the story has had a lasting impact on Western culture and has inspired countless works of art, literature, and film. In modern retellings of the Romulus and Remus story, Remus is often portrayed as the villain. This is because his actions are seen as the catalyst for the conflict between the brothers and ultimately the downfall of the Roman Empire. However, this interpretation is not necessarily accurate or fair to Remus. In fact, some historians argue that Remus was actually the true founder of Rome and that Romulus was merely a usurper. This interpretation is supported by the fact that Remus's name appears first in the earliest written accounts of the Roman legend. Additionally, the traditional Roman account of the founding of the city gives Remus a larger share of the booty after the slaying of Acron. This suggests that Remus was seen as a more important figure in early Roman tradition. The story of Romulus and Remus is a reminder of the complexities of human relationships. Even the closest of siblings can be consumed by jealousy and ambition, leading to devastating consequences. The rivalry between the twins also reflects the competitive nature of human society and the lengths to which people will go to achieve power and success. Remus and Romulus were said to be identical twins, sons of the god Mars and the human princess Rhea Silvia. They were the grandsons of King Numitor, who had been deposed by their evil uncle Amulius. With Amulius's rule, King Numitor was forced to flee to the neighboring kingdom of Alba, where he lived in exile. Amulius wanted to ensure his power over the Alban people, so he made Princess Rhea Silvia, Numitor's daughter, swear an oath of perpetual virginity. He feared that if she had children, they could potentially claim the throne. However, the gods had other plans. Mars, the god of war, infiltrated Rhea Silvia's dreams and seduced her, resulting in the conception of twins, Romulus and Remus. When Princess Rhea Silvia gave birth to the boys, Amulius ordered that they be put to death. A soldier named Titus, who was in charge of carrying the twins to their graves, felt pity for the infants and instead left them in the wild, hoping they would be cared for by animals. Miraculously, the twins were found by a she-wolf, who took them under her care and nursed them back to health. The she-wolf carried them up the side of Mount Palatino and laid them down on a bed of grass and leaves. A nearby fig tree offered its branches to shield the babies from the cold wind, providing them with shelter during the day and its roots to cradle them during the night. After being raised by the she-wolf, Remus and Romulus encountered a band of shepherds named Faustulus and his wife, Acca Laurentia, who became their adoptive parents. Under the guidance of their foster parents, the twins learned the skills necessary to survive in the wild, such as hunting and gathering food. As they grew older, they discovered their true identities and set out to reclaim their grandfather's throne. Once they reached the age of manhood, they sought out their grandfather, King Numitor, who was still living in exile. Upon hearing their story, King Numitor immediately recognized them as his grandsons and welcomed them back into the fold. With the help of their grandfather, the twins returned to their homeland, where they rescued their grandmother from her prison and restored their grandfather to his rightful place on the throne. As a reward for their bravery and loyalty, King Numitor granted them land and resources, which allowed them to establish their own settlements. The exact location of these settlements is not specified, but it is believed that they were somewhere in the vicinity of the Tiber River. The brothers ruled their domains peacefully for several years, but their peaceful existence was shattered when they encountered an enemy king named Acron, who was threatening the safety of their people. Acron was a powerful ruler who had amassed a large army and was eager to expand his territory. He had already conquered several neighboring settlements and was now setting his sights on the land granted to Remus and Romulus. Faced with the threat of invasion, the twin brothers assembled their armies and prepared to defend their homes. The battle between the two forces was fierce, and neither side was able to gain the upper hand. However, during the chaos of the fight, Remus was struck by a spear and mortally wounded. Seeing his brother fall, Romulus fought with renewed vigor and eventually defeated Acron's army. With their victory, Romulus and Remus reclaimed their grandfather's throne and established the city of Rome on the Palatine Hill. The story goes that Romulus killed Remus during the battle, because Remus made fun of the holes in his shield. Though the stories of Romulus and Remus are intertwined, their personalities are distinct. Romulus is described as stoic and ambitious, while Remus is considered impulsive and quick-tempered. These differences would come to define their individual paths in life. After the death of their grandfather, Romulus and Remus inherited his throne and continued to rule wisely and justly. They implemented policies that promoted equality and fairness, and their people thrived under their leadership. However, their peaceful reign was short-lived. Soon, the brothers began to argue over who should inherit the throne. Each believed that he was the rightful heir and was willing to do whatever it took to secure his position. As the arguments grew more heated, it became clear that the brothers could not rule together. Eventually, the conflict came to a head, and the brothers went to war. Romulus emerged victorious, but he was ultimately responsible for the downfall of their dynasty. The once prosperous kingdom was now divided, and the people suffered under the rule of their new leaders. The story of Romulus and Remus is a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked ambition and the importance of maintaining harmony within families. Their rivalry serves as a reminder that even the closest of siblings can be consumed by jealousy and power struggles, leading to devastating consequences. Thanks for watching. Do you think Remus got a bad rap in the story of Romulus and Remus? Let us know your thoughts. Also, make sure to subscribe for more videos.